Hey guys, super excited to come and talk to you guys when it comes to networking. As you see, I am in a different space right now. Not in my normal space, but I wanted to make sure that I came and talked to you guys because I'm excited about this weekend. So this weekend is SpeakerCon 2019 with the amazing Miss Sherwood. We will be in Virginia. If you have not checked out the info for it just yet, you want to go to speakercon2019.com. That's speakercon2019.com. With that being said, why is it so valuable to talk about networking and large events and live events? Right now, we are in a time where people are moving more towards doing live and local events, some small, some bigger, but there's a reason why we are moving towards doing more of these. It's because if you don't know, people still buy from who they know, like, and trust. And word of mouth is still one of the top ways for you to get new clients. Hint the reason why we're on LinkedIn and Facebook and all of these different things. The reason why people go viral, the reasons why people connect is because of that know, like, and trust factor. But not just that, it's because you left a mark, and you did so through conversation, you did so through engagement, did so through service. And I think we've lost that art because we've gotten so accustomed to just going to a networking event and handing out 500 business cards. The 500 business card model does not work. I don't know who taught that. They need to be mom plucked in their forehead, but it does not work. For me as an introvert, I had to find ways that I could network my way to success without handing out 500 business cards, because it just wasn't, it was time consuming. It just didn't make sense. And I've been able to make more connections with using a minimal amount of business cards. It's not to say that you don't need them. Business cards do set a precedence. They still work, they're still valuable. But I had to find ways that I could network that were right for me. And many people miss that part. Many people are scared to have the conversation about that part. Why? I'm not exactly sure just yet, but we're going to discuss it a little bit more today. So, with that being said, I have 5 tips for you guys for when it comes to networking. And it doesn't matter what size the event is, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. These 5 tips are really going to help you to kind of stand out. That's one of the biggest things, is when you think about networking. Networking is about having conversations that stand out. Do we all agree? It's about having those conversations that stand out from the crowd, those conversations that literally make you memorable. They make that person remember who you are, remember your name. They may not even remember 100% of what you do, but there's something that they remember about you. Oh, my pleasure, Vanessa. There is something about you that they remember and it stood out. A business card is not always going to do it. And that's just honesty. As a speaker, as a entrepreneur, a business card is just not always going to do it. Now, granted, there are some people who still use business cards, but it's only I'll say it like this. The conversion rate, let's talk about numbers. Let's look at numbers. When you think about conversion rate, do you have more of a conversion rate from talking to someone and actually connecting with them? Or do you have more of a conversion rate when you're handing them just a business card? That's the question you have to ask yourself, because insanity is doing the same thing and looking for a different response. That's the definition of insanity. So if you're doing the same thing and looking for a different response, when are you going to switch it up and look for a response that's going to serve you. We want to make sure that we're getting a response that's going to serve us in the long run. Now, I'm an introvert. As an introvert, most times you'll find introverts sit near the door, they sit near the back of the room. They're not always the loudest in the room. They can network. It's not always like they're standoffish, but they just get more of their energy from being in more intimate settings or being in settings where they had that private time alone. With that thought process as an introvert, so then you create your own intimate settings. That's what I did. I started doing networking events where we didn't have 50 people in a room. We may have had 15. Did we still do the job? Yes. Did we still convert in the room and sell from the stage and connect with people? Yes. But it was more of an intimate um, atmosphere, and it allowed people to better engage with each other. Because a lot of times when we think about bigger events, there are so many people in the room, you just don't know how to engage. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to engage. Even if it's a really big crowd, I've done these same tips in rooms of 150, 200 people, 200 plus people. I've done these same tips in a room where it was less than 100 people. My clients and my team do these tips because they work. And I went ahead and I put all 25 of the tips into a book. It's called Plug In. Yes, that part. Power networking tips for introverts, startups, and the success obsessed. Go to bit.ly/plug in my voice to get your copy of it. So that's all 25, but I'm going to give you 5 tips right now that you can use. So if you're going to be a speaker con this weekend, I want to see you using these tips. Even if you're not going to be a speaker con this weekend, I'll be in Iowa in the 23rd of November. So if we're meeting up in Iowa, I want to see you doing these 5 tips or at least 1 or 2 of these tips while you are in the room. Got it? Got it. Okay. So when it comes to networking, one of the things that I've often found is that we're selfish. Can you guys know that? First of all, those who are just coming in, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you guys. You guys that are new, you may not know, but I try not to hold back a whole lot when it comes to speaking and being an author, because I feel as though in this industry, in these industries, there have been enough people holding back information and not really sharing the real deal when it comes to behind the scenes. Networking is one of those areas that gets shielded and put behind a screen to make it feel like, oh, if you just go and hand people your business card, miraculously they'll call you, remember exactly who you are, and you've never had a conversation with them. Listen, even when it comes to swag bags, we have to have that understanding as well. So you go back and you say, okay, why is this model looking this way in today's society? It's because we're selfish. Now, granted, we have reason to be selfish in the industry to a degree, because nobody wants to be broke. Nobody wants to be a broke entrepreneur, a broke speaker, a broke author, a broke baker, a broke dietitian. Like, nobody wants to be broke. We're in a society where it's a lot of people are doing a side business out of necessity, not out of pure desire and joy. And so you have to have that thought process. If I'm doing it out of necessity and not out of true joy, then what ends up happening now is now I'm taking it to a point where I'm just thinking about my results. I'm not thinking about the results of the next person. I'm thinking about what I want out of the conversation and out of the networking opportunity. I'm not really focused on what the next person will have to bring and offer. And that's where we first go wrong. Networking is not all about you. It's about what you have to offer as much as it is about what you need or what you want. So have this conversation with yourself before you even get started. What do I need? and what do I have to offer the next person. Many times we'll find that we have a ton of things that we really want from people. We'll want people to share our services and products. And I get this often where people will send me a link and want to, have me share their link and share their website and vote for them and all of these other things. But if that's what you're trying to have me do, what is it that you're offering in return? Like, what is your offer? What is it that you have that you can serve me and help me with? And a lot of times people don't have that, or they have not thoroughly thought through that process in order for them to understand what it is I have to offer. So that leads me to number one. Number one is show up with a heart of service. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can volunteer for that particular event. That is one way that you serve, and you're able to network with many, many people at the event, because as you serve, you're connecting with people. People are getting to know you, they're getting to talk to you, they're finding out your name. But you have to start with that service first. What can I do for this person? Not necessarily just what they can do for me, but what can I do for them? When you start with service, listen, it leads to something even bigger. It does. So find out what they do. That's another one. That's number two. Ask some questions. Really have a conversation with people. I find that there are so many people who fail, completely fail at having just a normal conversation because we're so eager to go and talk about what we do. But it's the same way, and this may be a little vulgar for some of you, but think about it like this. Do you walk up on someone in the street and tell them, I want to have sex with you? Do you walk up to them and say, I wanna kiss you? Like just a random stranger? Do you walk up into somebody and say, I want to wash your car? If you don't do this in normal conversation, why would you think this is okay in a business conversation? That's what it is. When you're just sending someone a link and saying, I want you to share out my product or service with your audience. I want you to, share out my information. Wait a minute. Can you get to know who I am first? Can you have a conversation with me? So ask some questions about what it is that that person does, who it is that they work with, what kind of things that they may need. How is it that you may serve them? Especially on the platform of LinkedIn, that is one of the greatest ways for you to be able to build your platform and build your community on LinkedIn, is with a heart of service, is with asking the right questions. I've been able to literally go from a couple hundred connections to over 8,000 connections in about a 2-year period. The majority of those were in within the last year. And it was from me asking questions, being engaged, having conversations, not just going and showing up and saying, I want you to do this for me. And that's that part. So when we start having these better conversations, it sets us apart. Do you agree? It sets us apart because now I'm not showing up as everyone else who's showing up just to have something given to them, just to have some connection given to them. I'm showing up as the expert in the room. I'm showing up as the plug. I'm showing up as the GOAT, the greatest of all time, because I know that there's something I have to offer that I can go and help somebody else move their vision forward. So we said the two things were, first, serving, showing up with a heart of service. You can volunteer. You can just depending on who you're talking to, how can you serve them? How can you share out their product or service? I did this even on social media. I do this the same way, guys. And so I may connect with an amazing business owner and say, especially if they're a female business owner, I may say, I love what you're doing. I would love to feature you on my blog. The blog is called #Our Voice Matters. Send me a blog post about what it is that you do, your story, 500 to 700 words, a short bio, a couple links, and your headshot. That's my service. I'm not attaching a fee to it. I'm not I'm not looking for anything in return. I just want to serve and share out what this person is doing. This is where, again, I am different. Sorry, not sorry. But I've been ridiculed for it. I've been talked about for it because people are like, you should be monetizing every single thing you do. Conversations don't need to be monetized. Not all. Some do, because you will have people that are picking your brain. You will have people that are coming to you wanting information so they can move their vision forward. Yes, there will be some conversations that need to be monetized, discovery calls and trainings and courses. I get that. But every conversation does not need to be monetized. And when we think that every conversation needs to be monetized, we miss out on the conversations that matter. I'll say that again. When we think that every conversation needs to be monetized, then we miss out on the conversations that matter. Because guess what? You may have a conversation with someone today and they become the next president, they become the next millionaire, and they remember that conversation that you had with them and they come back and want to work with you. Having a conversation goes a long way. Now, you're always going to have, again, people who attempt to drain you for everything you have. So you have to use discernment when it comes to having conversations because you don't want to keep putting yourself in a position of not being able to get access to everything that what it is that you need. We want to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a position to not only get access to the things that we need, but also to provide service. So service was first. Then we said number two was ask questions. One of the things that I actually just finished reading a book called Power Questions, which was an excellent read. Go ahead, get it on Audible, get it on Kindle, get the book. It was an easy read. It was not very long at all, but it shifts your mindset as to what questions you're really asking people. So a lot of times we're asking questions that, and it's not going to lead to a response that's really going to move us forward. So we want to make sure that we're asking the right questions. And in asking the right questions, it definitely takes us to another level. So that's number two. Number three is accessories. When you go to an event, what are the ways that you accessorize? Now, some of you may say, okay, now she done went way left. No, no, no. Hear me out. I am someone who you guys always see me usually live with some really nice earrings, some big earrings that stand out. I try to get different ones, but my kids, I have girls, they take them often. But when you have a statement piece will always allow, it will always spark a conversation. A statement piece can be your shoes. A statement piece can be a pocket square. It can be a bow tie or a necktie. A statement piece can be your cufflinks. Now, I've spoken with other introverts. I've spoken with other speakers and entrepreneurs. And it was interesting for me to find that some of them were saying, you know what, that is true. When I go into a room as a male introverted, as a male introvert or as a male speaker just walking into the room, I pay a close attention to cufflinks. I really like cufflinks. That's something I pay attention to. Some men are like, I pay attention to pocket squares. I pay attention to belt buckles. It's always going to be different depending on the community that you're in, the atmosphere you're in, but go in with some type of accessory that really stands out. Again, for women, it's a lot easier for us as women because we can do hair accessories, we can do earrings, rings, necklace, we can do all types of things. For men, it may not be as easy. Men, you can do shoes, but men, you really don't wear a lot of colors of shoes. Let's just be honest, unless it's an Easter suit, and we're not even going to go there on this particular broadcast. But you really don't wear a lot of colors when it comes to shoes. But you have different styles of shoes, especially different ones. You have some wing tips and things of that nature. that some men prefer over other styles. So that could be your way in to starting a conversation. Something else, again, we said a belt, jewelry, hair accessories, ties, bow ties, pocket squares, and shoes, right? Another thing that many don't think of is your blazer. Your blazer can be a statement piece, and someone can have it on all black and have a blazer that stands out, and it becomes a statement piece because they're looking at the all black or the all white, and then the blazer stands out. You're going to have people start conversations with you simply on that alone. Now, again, it's always going to be different depending on the individual, depending on the atmosphere you're in. But it's about you starting the conversation. And for me, as an introvert, starting the conversation was not always the easiest thing to do. So I had to find ways for me to start it without me necessarily screaming at the top of my lungs, "Hi, my name is Altaviz. Hi, Altaviz, and I'm an introverted speaker and entrepreneur." Like, have fun with it, guys. These are the ways that you have fun no matter what business or brand you're in. These are the ways that you can definitely stand out. So that was number 3, was accessories. Number 4 is connecting with them online. There are some amazing tools that are right on your phone, guys. If you go into LinkedIn, if you go into Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, there is a little section that you go into. And I'm going to show you what it looks like on mine if it pops up. There should be a section where, nope, it won't pop up on my phone at the moment. Because I'm talking about it, of course, it's not going to pop up. But there's a section on your phone in most apps. I'll show you the one on the Facebook app. If you go into Facebook, and if you go into LinkedIn, Instagram as well, and you go into your settings area, there should actually be, it's called a name tag. Well, I call it a name tag. It's not necessarily what it's called. People call it different things. If you go to your profile on LinkedIn, so one of my channels, one of my pages on LinkedIn is World Voice League, at World Voice League. And if you may or may not be able to see it, let's see if I can get it up. And if you'll be able to see it, there we go. So if you see that, that is a name tag. When I am at an event, I can have someone open their phone, take a picture of this, scan this, or open up their this one's for Instagram, their Instagram app, scan this, and they can connect with me directly on Instagram. And if you look at it, there at the bottom, it says scan a name tag. It says it right there on the bottom. So what you end up doing is they have it on Facebook, they have it on LinkedIn, TikTok. Like I said, a lot of the platforms have it. That is a way for you to be able to connect in the messenger on that particular platform. When you connect on the messenger, you send them a message thanking them for connecting with you at such and such event. You do this immediately while you are standing in front of the person. I've done it many times. I've gone to different events and done it for LinkedIn. I've done it for, depending on what platform you are on, because everybody's platform is going to be different. But I've done it on several different platforms in order for me to be able to connect with people later on and finish a conversation that we started at an event. So connecting with them online, that's one of the best ways for you to be able to do it. Set it up, move and shake. Listen, it's all about moving towards success. So that was number 4. Number 4. We talked about your statement piece. We talked about your serving. We talked about asking questions. Now, my last one is going to be an interesting one because not all events will have this opportunity. But many of the bigger events are starting to do it even more. They will have an opportunity for Q&A. Here's your chance. Get up and ask a question. When you get up, introduce yourself as your name, what business you have, and your question. And your question should be something that is related to your business, that's related to the topic of what they're talking about. Guess what? I had a client just do this just recently at an event where she's an introvert, just like me. And she was at the event, she was serving, so she connected with people that way. And they had a time for Q&A. And so she got up to ask a question and she said, yes. She said, my name is, and I do email marketing, and I do this. And my question is, and guess what? She walked away with several new potential clients. I know you're probably thinking, okay, this just sounds too good to be true. That doesn't work. It does. She walked away with several potential clients that she was able to go connect with them. And again, I showed you the name tag. She connected with them online. She went afterwards. She followed up with them because the fortune is in the follow up, guys. The fortune is in the follow up. She went and followed up with them afterwards, and boom, she signed on a few new clients. We have to stop thinking that it's harder than what it is. We have to stop thinking that it includes something that we've never seen before. Oh, now the comments are starting to come up. Thank you, Ulysses. I see you. Yes. Serve. Hey, Vandora. Ask questions, your accessories, your online connection. And then number 5 was ask a question at the event during the Q&A session time. And asking that question, you standing up. Now, this is interesting because, again, as an introvert, most times we are not the person that is at the front of the room. We're normally at the back. So this requires you to move sometimes. This requires you to go to the front of the room. But when you go to the front of the room, what you will see is that you will put yourself in a position to connect and communicate with people that may have your products and services that you need, or they may need something that you have. And that's something that most people they do not realize. We get so scared to ask a question because we think if we ask a question, oh my goodness, what if it's a wrong question? First of all, I won't say that there's no wrong questions, because sometimes, guys, listen, um, sometimes it's just a matter of were you listening 100%? But that's where taking some good notes during the actual event really stand out for you. If you take some great notes, then you can always go back to be able to ask some great questions, get some feedback and some responses, and really take it to another level. So ask your questions, know who it is you are. So, and that's the other thing. A lot of times we get a little antsy because we don't know how to pitch. Like, we don't know how to really introduce ourselves. I don't know why that is. One of the programs that I do is called Define Your Voice. And one of the exercises that we do for that particular program is I teach them to create a name for themselves and then to introduce themselves by that name. So for me, I am the voice coach. I am a unicorn. Um, these make me stand out when I'm introducing myself to new people. Because if I say that I'm the unicorn, or if my name tag says the unicorn, then people want to know what that means. They want an explanation of why do you think you're a unicorn, or why, like, do you need help? Do we need to call the people on you? It happens. People ask questions, but it stands out. If you say the career strategist, then they want to know how you fit into your title. It starts a conversation. And so, but we as people get really scared, I think, because that's when it takes it into the realm of, oh well, that's childish, You're coming up with a name for yourself. You're being a kid. And kids come up with cute little names for themselves. Just tell us that you are, just tell us your name. No, I don't have to just tell you my name. When I have that personalized name that I've created, you get a better idea of who I am, and I'm giving you not just my name but my personality when I introduce myself. When I say that I am the unicorn, I am giving my name and my personality. I am not just giving that, I'm also bringing them into a heavier conversation. Normally, because I deal with women who have gone through abuse, I deal with women who have gone through domestic violence, homelessness, divorce. So guess what? The unicorn triggers something in your mind that we are able to have a much harder conversation than what we would have normally had if I just told you my name. That's a psychological thing. That's a psychological piece that people miss. People don't understand that part. So I give them, this opportunity. We go through this process and we create a name for them. And they have to introduce themselves by that name. And I always get the feedback that they say, I was so nervous to introduce myself by that. But the feedback was amazing. The person responded great. They gave us great, information. Or they wanted to work with me. They wanted to follow up. They wanted to do a call later up in a few weeks. It's because you stand out. When you're going to an event and you're in a room of 300 people, you need to stand out. You need to stand out. It's 300 people in the room. What makes you different? What makes you unique? What makes you valuable? Show up with that. And so I definitely wanted to make sure you guys got that bit of information. Thank you for all of those that are coming in and they have shared out the broadcast. I definitely appreciate you guys. Thank you for the comments below. Keep the conversation going. You guys know that I always come back and re-engage with you guys. Not just that, if you have not done so already, go and catch up with the book and get the other 20 tips that I shared in the book. Plug in 25 power networking tips for introverts, startups, and the success obsessed. Definitely go pick that up. bit.ly/plug in my voice. That's bit.ly/plug in my voice to get the ebook and get that information. Because guess what? There's somebody that needs what you have to offer, and it's time for someone to hear your voice. With that being said, until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.